Here's a bit of a performance review on the Greenline 39. I'm Rowan from Eyachts, and let's go through all the figures and show how this boat performs. So currently, as you can tell, we're in electric mode. It's very quiet. You can hear the beautiful water lapping in the background. That is the noisiest thing you can hear, which I think is a very peaceful and surreal feeling while on a boat. We have a nice opening door here. It's a beautiful day on Pittwater. So I have a nice breeze coming through here. I have a nice lot of ventilation coming from above with the opening skylights. And it's just a peaceful cruise. Imagine being with all your friends on board, having a gentle conversation. No one's trying to speak over the top of a diesel motor, and it's just peaceful. Can't think of anything better. But anyway, let's get back to the electric motor. So right now, we're just having a gentle pace. We're probably at about 60–70% throttle, and we're doing about 6 knots. So we have already been driving for a little while, but we've got about 5 nautical miles left. It's going to give us about an hour of cruising. It should be, when we're going a little bit slower, up to about 20 nautical miles on a slow cruise. And with a top speed of about 8 knots, should give us about an hour of running. So as we're here now, 6 knots, very comfortable, and still got plenty of manoeuvrability with the boat. It is a semi-displacement style boat, so we're not going to have the agile steering of an outboard or a performance sports boat, but it is still nice and easy to manoeuvre the boat. So we'll just pull it up to full throttle, and as we make our way 7, got a little bit of current. It's a nice comfortable speed, especially cruising around the waterways of Sydney, the Gold Coast, the rivers of Western Australia and beyond. It truly is a nice peaceful experience. Now, the great thing with Greenline's Generation 6 of the hybrid system, the transition from electric to diesel is quite simple. We bring the throttles back to the neutral position, pretty much press the start button on the Yanmar motor, and now click it into forwards, and we're back into diesel mode. So we're just going to start off on a slow cruise, but the great thing with this whole hybrid system now is the electric motor component of the system is acting as a large generator. So we'll be putting back large amounts of electricity back into the lithium batteries. At a slow speed, we'll only be putting back in a smaller amount, in around that 10 kilowatt area. But when we increase the speed into a higher cruise, we put back up to about 17 kilowatts back into that motor. Now it does automatically know when to taper up and to taper down, so it protects the batteries, protects the motor and the system. Generally it happens after about 85%. Now that's enough on the electric side of things. Now let's look at the diesel side, because it really works incredibly well and efficient. So I'm doing a slow cruise at about 5 knots. That's 50% load on the diesel motor. We're going through 5 litres per hour, so quite efficient. As I slowly increase the speed, try and do increments of a knot or so. We're now, see, the load hasn't changed. It's probably come down a little bit actually, so the boat isn't bogging in, it's getting a little bit more efficiency through the water on load, but we're going through about 10 litres per hour. And as I said, as we increase, the amount of electricity put back into the batteries does as well. So that's 7 knots. Now I want to remind you, on the hybrid system here, we're going to have a 250 horsepower Yanmar motor. If you don't opt to have the hybrid system and go straight diesel, you can have this size motor, but you can also increase it up to the 370 horsepower Yanmar, which gives you a greater top end speed. Now, we're up to 8 knots here, going through just under 20 litres per hour, so still quite an efficient speed and consumption for this boat for long-term cruising. The load of the engine is quite interesting. It actually hasn't shifted too much, so it does show that while we are consuming more fuel, we are going faster. The loads of this engine through these sort of RPM ranges is really altered maybe 6%, which is quite cool because we're not putting extra stress on the motor. Okay, we're at 8.5 knots, creasing to 9 knots now. Loads are remaining around the same, but we've gone up to 22 litres per hour. We will note with this boat, we don't get a lot of bow rise as we increase. The way the hull is designed, it's quite a flat hull, very efficient hull, but at the rear of the boat, we have a bit of a skeg keel, so that does help with stability. It also helps as a bit of a wing to keep the stern lifted, which obviously helps with efficiency, so we don't bulk the boat in. All right, now let's open it up a little bit more. Just under 11 knots now. We're going through 40 litres per hour. The load has increased now to about 75%. So this is the spot where we probably feel the boat's maybe not as efficient, but it is a really nice, comfortable cruise at 11 knots. The boat's almost got a bit of a semi-planing feel here. We did notice a little bit of bow rise, but only a little bit. We still have perfect visibility over the dash. We can see a couple of metres in front of the boat, maybe let's call it 5 to be realistic, but it's a nice safe feeling when manoeuvring the boat. All right, now let's open up a little bit more. Now we're up to 12 knots, 50 litres per hour, but the load rate has increased quite a bit at this speed. We do have trim tabs on this boat, so if we ever did want to help at this point, I'm going to put the trim tabs down. You do see the load drop a little bit, but on a day like this it's nice and comfortable, so we don't really need to change the trim of the boat. Even looking out the back, as you see, we have a great view here. We have very unobstructed vision throughout the boat, but it doesn't put off a big wake. You know, we're doing a 12 knot speed. We have a nice gentle wake behind us, unoffensive to anyone we're cruising past. It's quite comfortable. All right, I just want to demonstrate with the whole boat closed up how quiet this boat is as we open up to wide open throttle. Going through the range, coming up to 100%. It's a lot quieter, I can definitely tell you that, but at 100% we're going through 51 litres per hour. 16 knots we've just hit. I still have not seen that bow come up enough to be obtrusive. Now this is the smaller motor. If you do want to have a higher top end speed and take the larger 370 horsepower option, that's going to top out at about 25 knots, and the fuel consumption is about 73 litres per hour, so still very economical for a wide open throttle application. To bring it back to our cruising and most desired speed, which is in that, probably that 12 knots with this boat, it is incredibly comfortable and you can really go for quite a long time. Now let's try some evasive turns, should that be needed. Do a hard turn to port. Nice and easy, and actually turns quite sharp at this speed. Just come around to starboard and then we'll continue it and do a big circle. Once again, no difference. It's definitely a little bit stiffer on the wheel compared to, as I said, a sport boat, but we're not in a sport boat, so we've got to remember that. So I've just done a hard turn, probably the span of about 30 metres. We've just done a full turn. Quite impressive. Alright, so that's the performance side of the Greenline 39, either in hybrid or diesel. Both amazing options and both have its great attributes. I'm Rowan from Eyachts. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe for more great content.